the critical one. Even in AS 9100 is revised in 2016, that is revision D. See, IAQG calls the standard just IAQG 9100. The publishers, SAE, call it as revision D. EN and GISQ, they state 9100 2016. They call it by the year. SAE call it by the alphabetical order. That's what it is. So in revision D, what happened? They have included this word prevention of counterfeit part. Previously, this particular requirement was not there in the standard. Why they have recently included means recent days lot of counterfeit part. You can't believe there are a lot of raw material, wrong grade of material entered into an aircraft industry. We heard about what has happened to the Kobe Steel, right? Japan-based manufacturer, right? So a lot of things are happening around us. That's what IAQG is very clear. We should have a requirement with respect to prevention of counterfeit part. So this is the exact requirement in the standard. Just few lines. The company must plan, implement, control processes appropriate to the company and the product for the prevention of counterfeit part, prevention of even suspect counterfeit part, either used or their inclusion in your product which is going to be delivered to your customers. This is a simple requirement in the standard. But standard doesn't mandate any methodology how to do this. It's up to the organization to decide based on their product, based on their customer requirement, so they can develop their own process. But the standard also tells us a methodology. This is a should requirement. Technically, it is in the note, not an auditable clause. But what they are expecting from us is when you have a process, the process should consider these parts. First of all, train the team. We know that now 7.3 awareness, the importance of ethical behavior that is connected here. So everyone in the organization should aware about what is counterfeit part, how to prevent it. And we should have a program for obsolescence monitoring. So that is another important consideration. As a designer, when you choose any product in your bill of material, you have to consider the part obsolescence. Tomorrow, if the part is not available in the market, so that is one of the reasons the counterfeit part may exist. This is very critical in electronics industry. Then when selecting the suppliers, we started this discussion, right? Who is the entry point for this counterfeit part? Suppliers, vendors. So while selecting the supplier, ensure this, whether your supplier also following ethical behavior, right? And we have a separate standard AS 9120 that is only for authorized dealers, distributors, resellers, right? Now, most of the aircraft OEM primes mandated that you have to procure product only from 9120 certified suppliers. That is one way of preventing the counterfeit part. Then when you are placing purchase order, your purchase order should clearly call for the traceability requirement. Certificate of conformity or certificate of assurance, whatever you are going to call it back, make sure it has a clear requirement with respect to traceability. Then when you receive the item, you have to do inspection. It is not just verifying a COC, not just inspect the product dimensional requirement. If it is a critical item, if the risk is high, you need to revalidate. You have to re-verify the supplier test certificate. If you came across any counterfeit part, generally how you are going to deal with this? Can you just please type if you came across any counterfeit part? You are an organization or your customer where you are doing consulting services, your customer, the client has received a counterfeit part. During inspection, they came to know it is a clear counterfeit part. It's a fake item. How they need to deal with this? What they need to do with this? Can anyone? Yeah, raise alarm to supplier top management, move to NC yard, quarantine the product, inform customer and supplier, quarantine. What happened to the product? That fake product. How you dispose those those safe product. So what the standard is expecting from us is never ever ask for replacement. The standard made it very clear, never allow that fake product has re-entered into the supply chain. Why? Because we know the reason, right? If you got a fake 2000 note, what we'll do? You got the cash from ATM. End of the day, you came to know that this 2000 note, what you got is a fake. How are we going to deal with that? Yeah, the same concept applies here. So never ever send it back to the supplier. Yeah, of course, yes, you have to report it to the authorities where required, the regulatory authorities, customers. Sometimes it may be a customer approved source, right? So these are the things standard expecting us to do. Have your own process, how we are going to deal with this. So this is what the entire supply chain in one picture I'll made it. So most of the counterfeits are originated in the raw material supply stage. Brokers, dealers, distributors, that's the entry point. That's why here 9120 playing a major role. This is with respect to electronics industry. I'm putting this picture. And of course, some counterfeit parts are identified in the manufacturers. Some unethical organization may convert a military part number into a commercial part number. There is a clear counterfeit part. Again, converting a commercial part number into military part number, right? So wrong identification, false identification, knowingly misrepresenting, everything can be considered as a counterfeit part. Right? So this is what the overall process. So with respect to prevention of counterfeit part, again, it is applicable from concept to disposal. Entire life cycle we need to consider. While selecting the supplier, while manufacturing the product, so each and every activity we have to consider this counterfeit. Okay, so any specific questions with respect to counterfeit part? Even you can consider false documentation. You got supplier COC. In supplier COC, if you see the logo is not correct, backdated COC, in every certificate, the same value, same parameter is not altered for so many years, right? If different batches, but the parameters value are same. So those we can suspect that is a counterfeit part. Yes, there are a lot of regulatory authorities, harmonization happened with respect to reporting counterfeit part. A lot of websites are available. You can go and search, find it. Maybe I'll share those links where you can get, or you just Google it, you can find it. Electronics industry is very active on this part. So they have a task force. Even to avoid counterfeit part, there is an accreditation program offered by similar to NADCAP, CAAP, Counterfeit Part Avoidance Accreditation Program. So for no one got in India for that. Right? Even if you do visual inspection, sometimes you came to know the fake item, right? Logo, wrong place, wrong trademark, out of spec, stamps, even the document without signature, document without date. I'm talking about the supplier documents. Those can be suspected. That's not a counterfeit part. You can suspect it. Even manufacturing facility, sometimes what will happen, the company where we are going to implement AS 9100, they got a customer approval for few machineries or few lines, few production lines. If they make the customer contract part in another production line, maybe that can be considered, right? So false identification of documents. So there are a lot of standards available how to prevent counterfeit part. Again, those are all guidelines, not a mandatory standards, right? So typically standards like how to manage electronics item. There are plenty of standards available. AS 5553, there is a standard how to prevent counterfeit in electronics part. And there are some standard AS 6081. And there are a lot of standards, AS 6174, a lot of standards developed by SAE. how to identify, how to prevent, how to report the counterfeit part. Yeah, there is one specific question is asked: if one counterfeit part is identified in one particular lot, how you are going to deal with that lot? The suspect. So that's the only, right? You have to suspect the entire lot, and then deal it as per your own processes. Okay, so I'll move to the next bold item. This is the last item with respect to additional requirement. A lot of additional requirement. I have selected very few for this particular introduction training. Yeah, somebody is saying the audio is very low, so that is because of the internet connectivity issues.